You ever have one of those days where all you want to do is pick up some groceries, head home, and relax, only to end up in the middle of a full-blown HOA drama? Yeah, that was me last weekend. And let me tell you, this wasn't just any HOA drama. This was the kind of story where Karen energy, entitled kids, and racism all mixed together. And the kicker? I turned out to be the one person they should have never messed with. Because when the dust settled, they realized I wasn't just a random guy with groceries. I was the police commander of the entire county. I had just wrapped up a long week at work, briefings, officer reviews, planning sessions, you name it. All I wanted was some peace. I swung by the local store, grabbed a big paper bag of groceries, and headed back to my house. My neighborhood was a quiet suburban place, full of neatly trimmed lawns and those HOA signs that make you roll your eyes. You know the type: keep your grass under 3 inches, no trash cans visible. And the ever-dreaded violations will result in fines. I wasn't worried though. I didn't even live under their HOA. I owned my property outright, had no ties to their rules. But apparently, Karen didn't know that. As I walked toward my driveway, I noticed Karen, you know the type. Blonde bob haircut, bright sundress, lips pursed like she was sucking on lemons for breakfast. And right next to her was her teenage son, red-faced, wearing a smug smirk like he owned the block. The kid pointed straight at my grocery bag and barked, "Hey! Give me those chips. We don't want your kind shopping here anyway." I froze. Did I hear that right? The entitlement dripping off his voice was bad enough. But the racist undertone, that was a whole new level. I locked eyes with him, calm but firm. "Excuse me. These are my groceries. You don't demand anything from me." Karen immediately jumped in, her voice sharp and shrill. "Don't you dare speak to my son like that. This is our neighborhood. You need to hand those over before things get ugly." At this point, I'm holding a bag with milk, bread, eggs, chips, all the basics, and here's this kid, practically foaming at the mouth demanding snacks, with his mom acting like he's the Prince of England. I shook my head and said, "No. I paid for these." End of story. But of course, that wasn't the end of the story. Karen's face turned beet red. Her voice went up an octave. "That's it. I'm calling the police. You'll regret ever stepping foot here." She whipped out her phone, dialing faster than I thought possible. She barked into the receiver about a suspicious man threatening her family and refusing to hand over stolen goods. I couldn't help but chuckle. If only she knew. Within minutes, the distant sound of sirens echoed down the street. 2 squad cars rolled in. The neighbors started peeking through blinds, some even stepping out onto porches to see the spectacle.
Karen stood proudly, her son sneering beside her, as if they had just summoned their personal army. The officers stepped out of their cars, approaching cautiously. They looked at Karen first. "Ma'am, what seems to be the issue?" Karen jabbed her finger at me. "That man threatened my son and stole groceries. Arrest him immediately." The officers turned toward me. Now here's the thing. In that moment, I had a choice. I could have pulled out my badge right away and shut this nonsense down. But no. I wanted to see just how deep Karen was willing to dig this hole. So I calmly handed over my ID and said, "Officers, why don't you take a good look at my credentials?" They opened it. Their eyes widened instantly. One officer stiffened, then saluted. The other's posture snapped straight as a board. "Commander." Karen's smug grin shattered like glass. "But if you thought Karen would back down, think again." She gasped, then spat out, "This is a setup. He probably faked that badge. Arrest him. Don't you see? He doesn't belong here." Her son chimed in, yelling, "Yeah, he stole those groceries. Look at him." The officers exchanged uneasy glances. They knew the truth, but Karen wasn't letting up. That's when I decided enough was enough. I stepped forward, my voice steady but commanding. "Karen, let me make this very clear. I am the police commander of this county. I oversee every officer in this jurisdiction, including the one standing right behind me." The street went silent. Karen's son tried one last weak attempt. "Mom, maybe we should." But Karen cut him off, screeching, "No, I know my rights. This is harassment. He should be in jail. I gestured to the officers. Run her 911 call recording. Let's hear exactly what she said. Within minutes, the recording played back. Karen's shrill voice filled the air. There's a suspicious man here. He doesn't belong. He stole groceries. Her words echoed with venom. Neighbors gasped. Some whispered. Others shook their heads in disgust. I folded my arms. False reporting to law enforcement. Filing a fraudulent claim. Harassment. And let's not forget treachery. Motivated behavior in front of half the neighborhood. Karen's face drained of color. Her son finally looked embarrassed, shuffling awkwardly. The officers asked me how I wanted to proceed. I could have pressed charges. I could have had Karen hauled away in cuffs right there. But instead, I leaned in and said, no jail for now. But here's what will happen. You're going to publicly apologize right here. To me and to every single neighbor who just watched you humiliate yourself. Karen stammered. I didn't mean. I raised a brow. Say it. Finally, with her voice shaking, she muttered. I'm sorry. I nodded. Louder. For everyone. She swallowed her pride, raised her voice, and repeated. I'm sorry. I was wrong. The crowd murmured approval. Some even clapped. From that day forward, Karen kept her distance. Her son avoided eye contact every time I walked past. Word spread quickly. The HOA self-proclaimed Queen had tried to call the cops on the police commander himself. And lost. The HOA board even reached out later to apologize on her behalf, clearly embarrassed by her behavior. And me, I went home, finally enjoyed my groceries, and couldn't help but laugh at the irony. Here's the thing about people like Karen. They think rules are weapons to be used against others. They thrive on intimidation, entitlement, and prejudice. But when faced with someone who knows the law better than they do and is the law, that power vanishes in an instant. So, the next time someone tries to bully you with fake authority, remember this story. Stand tall. Don't back down. Because sometimes, the truth is the most powerful weapon you've got. And in my case, the truth just happened to come with a badge.